They thought we were just going to roll over and take it again, but the front office just rubbed it in the entire NFL's face that Las Vegas is nobody's playground anymore. Our front office finally woke up and dominated the clock. But did GM John Spytek finally turn into the strategic genius we've been waiting for, or was it just a stroke of luck? What does that absurd franchise legend level reception for our new quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, actually mean from the second he stepped into Henderson HQ? And just so we don't lose our habit of suffering behind the scenes, who was the wise guy up in Seattle that stole our dream safety right under our noses in the third round? Buckle up and smash that like button right now, because what I'm about to tell you in this video changes absolutely everything for the future of the Raiders. It is officially going down. Pay close attention to this because we've spent years watching this franchise make amateur moves. But what happened on day 2 of the draft was an absolute masterclass in management. GM John Spytek and assistant GM Brian Stark simply ate the competition for breakfast. We held the 36th overall pick, the clock was ticking, and our front office had 5 premium names left on their board. Any single one of those 5 guys was worth way more than an early second-round pick. In the past, what would the Raiders do? They'd panic, draft the fastest guy available, and completely ignore technique. Not this time. They were cold, calculating, and absolutely lethal. They saw that all 5 of our targets were still on the board, picked up the phone, and played the Houston Texans like absolute fools. We traded back, moved down the board, picked up an extra third-round pick, and guess what? We still got our guys. The first one was Arizona defensive back Traden Stukes. This kid is unreal. He runs a 4.3 40, went from a walk-on to a 3-time captain, and boasts a 4.0 GPA. The guy has a supercomputer for a football brain. Executives from other franchises are foaming at the mouth behind closed doors, saying he might end up being the best safety in this entire class, outperforming even the first-rounders. He brings exactly the football IQ and violence to the secondary that we desperately needed. But they didn't stop there. With that third-round pick we fleeced, we literally stole Keiron Crawford out of Auburn. One executive called the guy Stretch Armstrong because of the way he contorts his body to get to the QB. This kid has only been playing football for 5 years, and he's already an athletic freak with a motor that simply does not quit. And to put the final nail in the competition's coffin, Trey Zoom III fell right into our laps. The 2025 SEC Offensive Lineman of the Year. The guy played center, left tackle, faced elite defensive fronts, and didn't give up an inch. The Texas A&M coaching staff guaranteed he's the most NFL-ready protector they've ever coached, with stamina that scouts are calling flat-out freakish deep into the fourth quarter. My take? You know I don't sugarcoat mistakes, and I hold this team's feet to the fire on this channel. But today we have to give them a standing ovation. This cap space maneuvering and the stockpiling of cheap, young, hungry talent completely shifts our Super Bowl window. The impact on the roster is immediate. We brought in leaders, protectors, and headhunters. The mentality has shifted, and the entire NFL is already on notice. If you thought the shockers stopped there, hold on to your hats because the off-field buzz is boiling over and breaking the internet. Fernando Mendoza, our new QB1, the kid worth the #1 overall pick, stepped foot into Raiders HQ in Henderson. And what happened inside is basically unprecedented in recent memory. Mendoza didn't walk in looking like a deer in the headlights. The guy walked in carrying an undefeated 16-0 national championship from Indiana, a Heisman Trophy, 41 touchdowns, and Rose Bowl and Peach Bowl victories on his back. And the reception? Franchise legends got out of their seats and gave him a standing ovation. That's a level of respect I haven't seen since Tom Brady walked into that building as a minority owner. But the biggest talking point, the 3-second detail that set social media on fire and had rival fans biting their tongues, was a single gesture. While walking through the main lobby, surrounded by cameras, Mendoza looked down, saw the giant Las Vegas Raiders shield on the floor, and without a single word being said, he sidestepped it. He didn't step on the logo. He showed a silent, sacred respect for our history before the ink was even dry on his contract. That is culture, my friends. He knows the weight of the silver and black. Of course, the internet is ruthless. We had our own fans tearing up saying the kid already has legend status, but the rivals are big mad. Some Denver Broncos fan had the audacity to hop on social media and say he can't wait for their defense to tear Mendoza to pieces. Are you kidding me? Denver's defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, let alone a kid who shredded the best defenses in college football with ice in his veins. We even had hockey fans chiming in, claiming that not stepping on the logo is an NHL locker room thing and that we need to be better. You know what I think? Let them talk. The rest of the league is terrified of what this kid represents. He took an Indiana program that was rock bottom, single-handedly rebuilt the culture, and delivered a national title. He is the exact antidote to the losing culture that has haunted the Raiders for the past few years. He doesn't want empty hype. He wants to grind. And getting the blessing from Spytek and Kubiak on day one, with the franchise old guard clapping him in, proves this locker room is already his. Now take a deep breath, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and we need to talk about what the fan base is letting slide in all this draft hype. We took a massive L behind the scenes in the third round, and the Seattle Seahawks fingerprints are all over it. The perfect target, the player all of Raider Nation was begging for on social media, got swiped right from under us. I'm talking about TCU safety Bud Clark. Everybody knows our back end needed desperate help. Isaiah Pola-Mao had a brutal 2025. Being brutally honest here, after what he put on tape last season, it was time to show him the door, or at the very least bring in a heavy hitter to take his job. Our game plan was obvious. Traden Stukes, who we drafted earlier, is a total stud, but he plays closer to the line of scrimmage, in the nickel, thriving in hand-to-hand combat. We needed a true center fielder, that deep safety who reads the opposing quarterback's eyes and goes and gets the football. Bud Clark was that guy. The dude racked up 15 picks and 21 pass breakups over his last few college seasons. Imagine sticking Clark deep, with Stukes and Jeremy Chin just laying the wood over the middle of the field. It would have been the most violent secondary in the division. We were just 3 picks away from him. With pick 67 creeping up, it felt like he was a lock. But then, with the very last pick of the second round, Seattle jumped the line and snatched the kid. Does it sting? Absolutely. It was a massive buzzkill right in the middle of the war room. That's exactly why the front office pivoted so fast to grab Kieron Crawford to crush opposing QBs, making up for the lack of deep coverage with instant pass rush pressure. But what's the takeaway here as we look ahead? Our GM didn't hit the panic button. When Clark vanished from the board, Spytek didn't make the amateur mistake of reaching for the next safety on the list just to fill a positional need. He trusted his draft board and took the best talent available. That is championship-level management. The deep safety issue is still glaring. It's an open wound on this roster that the Chiefs and Chargers are definitely going to try and exploit, and we need to keep a close eye on what happens starting tomorrow or in the veteran free agent market. To wrap up all this madness, we dominated the draft board with genius trades and secured that missing aggression in the trenches and the nickel. Fernando Mendoza already has the locker room eating out of the palm of his hand before taking a single snap, respecting the shield and silencing the haters. But we lost our dream safety to Seattle, and the glaring hole in the back end is still screaming for help. Now for the million-dollar question that I want you to answer down below. With the board set like this, would you rather see the front office burn our final draft picks trying to strike gold on a miracle safety, or is it better to open up the checkbook, go after a veteran free agent, whatever the cost, and lock down this secondary to bulletproof our season? Drop your take in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time, Raider Nation.